What's up, Chris? It's been like what, a year?
I know. I was going to ask you. How long has it been?
It's
This is.
just
It's
been
only been like two
two
weeks. Yeah, it's
weeks.
only been
Yeah,
2 weeks.
it's only been 2 weeks.
But
Feels like forever though.
like, yeah, I feel like there's been a lot of things that have probably happened since we talked last. So, why even bother catching up on all that stuff? Because who knows what it was? It probably doesn't even matter anymore.
Well,
Um,
yeah,
well,
exactly. But what
well,
we do know is the regular tax season ended,
that happened. Yeah. Well,
and
we talked. Yeah, that was when we talked last.
yeah, pretty
On
much.
tax.
And
Yeah.
now we're looking back at that, and now
That's
looking
right.
at other ways to do some things.
Let's
And
do it.
you know, this topic came across my desk it was about a week ago now, and I'm like, this is perfect because not only are we trying to build a better client experience on tax, but we're also
Yeah.
trying to do that at High Rock and while we're doing that, automate as much as possible of it. So it's like, hey, let's just go and yeah. So I pitched this to you, and you're like, let's do it.
Let's do it. Right. So welcome everyone to the Practice Playbook, the show where Jay and I, we talk about all things to help modernize your accounting firm. That's exactly what we're going to do today, like Jay's alluded to, in April of 2025. So this month, Ariznet, I'm not really sure, work together with SafeSend to explore evolving expectations of accounting clients and the imperative for firms to balance automation with personalized service. And so, anytime you start to do a survey like this, the outputs are things that Jay and I love to talk about. They talked to 207 high income individuals, so that would be your prospective tax clients, those that were earning at least 100,000 annually, which is not what I think of as high income individuals from a tax perspective, but sure, okay. And then 150 business tax filers. So to get insights into their preferences, so client preferences, as well as the things that you come to this show for, the actionable strategies that you can take as an accounting professional.
Well,
And so Jay,
putting this into terms that I know you love,
yeah,
I assume it's a representative sample, but I don't think the sample size is quite enough. But the data is good, and this is something that we know very well. So we're diving into it anyway.
hey, we're not making 538 models over here. Like that's not what we're trying to do. We're just whipping out some conversation points. And these ones were good ones, and I think that that's an important thing, right? Even if it is a relatively small sample, the insights are still valuable,
Oh, for sure.
because I do think that if you were to talk to a much bigger sample, you'd get similar findings. Um, and so some of those key findings, that's what we're here to talk about. First, the key findings, and then the things you can do about it. So some of those key findings. First, Jay, who could have ever imagined that clients have a desire for personalized expertise? So both individuals and business owners, they like long-standing relationships with their CPAs. They like professional advice from people who offer personalized advice and not just cookie cutter advice. And it's also important that the people that they're working with stay up to date with the latest tax laws. And so, Jay, is that surprising at all?
No, not at all. And
No.
it falls right in line with what I've been dealing with the last 3 to 5 years, and it's just yeah. I mean, tell me what you know. Tell me what's going to help me not pay as much in tax and keep
Right.
me out of trouble and do it timely and cheaply. Well, you could have 3 of those 5. You're not going to get all 5 of those 5, but yeah.
Right. Sure. So when you think about the long-standing relationship side of this, like I think that's an important thing to remember, right? A lot of times people aren't looking to leave their current relationship with their tax advisor because they've built a relationship with their tax advisor. That's a thing that's really important, and that also incorporates or like this the same idea applies to an accounting professional or an advisor, right?
For sure.
Like that's going to continue to be the situation where those relationships that you have with people are significantly more critical than like even maybe the quality of the work. Like obviously, and this will come up later, accuracy is important, right? Like you can't just
Yeah.
do shit work. But at the same time, though, the most critical thing is that you ask about the kids and you ask about the house and you ask about the business trip that you took and all of those types of things, right? This personalized advice is what is critical. And so, Jay, when you think about providing personalized advice, like how do you do it? What are the things that you need to know about people, or what do you think are best practices? And maybe I don't want to like spoil everything later, but like I think it's an important thing to talk about now.
Oh, for sure. And it comes down to the same three things we've always talking about. Know, like, trust. It's just it, You're building a relationship. Yep. And, think about it. I've been using Chris as my tax CPA for the last 10 years. And if I was to switch and go to somebody else, there is so much that Chris knows that I'm going to have to unpack with somebody else. And put this in medical terms. My wife was a trauma nurse when we started discussing all this, but this was before the therapy days. So she's like, a patient has to go into the doctor and get naked. Show them everything. So think about it. So financially, you have to strip naked and basically
show everything.
Here's the skeletons. Here's everything. And nobody wants to do that. And they don't want to do that every 2 years, that's for sure. So it takes a lot of effort to do that. And in order to get to that point, Chris has been my guy for the last 10 years. It's taken 10 years to do this. That's the key, is to build relationships like that you can actually unpack in, let's say, 12 months. And it's hard to do that. So that's why the advisory game is so sticky, because nobody wants to do that. So, we have to find ways of doing that. And, just throwing this out there, automating shit isn't getting you any closer to that. So that's one of those things. That's one of the downsides of this. And we're going to talk about that later. But, that is ultimately the goal. And there are a few other detractors there because, probably if I've been with my accountant for over 10 years, they're probably still billing me by the hour. So I don't want to pick up the phone and be billed for 45 minutes of a phone conversation. So I'm just going to wait and tell them to go for my tax meeting. And it just doesn't work that way. So build the relationships, build in the pricing structure so that your clients open up and talk to you. That's, as part of, building a tax practice, you have meetings with your clients throughout the year, because not even just any advisory practice, because you want to know what's going on. You can't advise a client if you don't know what's in their head. Well, literally and figuratively. But
exactly. Well, and one thing that we talked about too, is that this is a personalized experience, but it's also a personalized experience based in expertise.
Right.
And so, Jay, you've talked about that, right? You understand the skeleton, you understand the rental property that's on your schedule or whatever, and where it is and how it's generating income and what to expect from it and why it's got such and such expense associated with it. And you don't need to explain that every year because you understand it.
Exactly.
And it also means, and like I mentioned, one of the things that I think is also worth talking about here is that one of the ways that you show your expertise is by staying up to date with what's going on. And so, Jay, I know we do that a lot because we're sitting here reading the news every week, trying to figure out topics to talk about on the show. But how would you advise other people to make sure that they're staying up to date with the latest tax law?
Well, I mean, we've been waiting for 18 months now for tax law to pass.
I thought about that.
So that it's kind of easy there. Nothing's happened in 18 months, but it's going to happen And let's go back a couple years, back to 2017 when the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was passed. And as soon as it's passed, it's like everybody and their brother comes out of the woodwork with a webinar on it. So, find your source. And, a lot of times it's the tax software companies, they do it. The larger firms do it. There are normal companies that do the CPE. They have the people in place to do these things. Now, I recall there are certain things that came out that it was like a year, 2 years later, everything that we were learning was speculative because there was no guidance on it. So even so, you're still getting the latest news on it and being up to date, just knowing what you might have to put a little extra work into if it comes across your desk in a return. So, paying attention to all of that is so important.
Well, and it's the same thing that we've been talking about on this show for whatever it is, like a year now, right? In those 18 months, right? There's been all kinds of speculation about the potential things that could happen. And so even being aware of this is a potential option, and that makes this relevant to you from a client perspective, right? That makes this relevant to your client. Like just knowing that there's a thing that you might need to talk to your clients about can be really powerful in showing that expertise, because you can say, hey, I know that you're thinking about this because this particular thing is coming off the books at the end of next year, but we're not going to get any guidance on it until this time because this is what's going on in the government right now.
Right.
And when we do get that guidance, you're going to be, the person to come to get the right expertise on it, because I'm going to be that person for you. And so even just knowing what's going on, so just staying up to date with the relevant activity can be so critical. And that's why, it's a self-plug, but it's why listening to a show like this is important, right? We're going to talk about those types of things, especially when they're big and powerful and useful for you. And so making sure that you find people like us that you're willing to listen to catch the news is a fantastic idea that helps to make you stay relevant.
Yeah. It's like back in 2018, it's like, okay, everybody's going to hire their children because, the standard deduction is now $12,000. So, it's easy to do that and not have to file a tax return because it went from $4,000 to $12,000. And, it just was built into the
big impact
way they wrote the tax. So that was the big thing at that point. And it's still valid today. Even better if you are a sole proprietorship. So,
right. Yeah, absolutely. And so obviously this desire for personalized expertise is critical. And so being an expert and making sure that you're having personal relationships are two things that you absolutely have to do. But you didn't come here to this show to hear that, right? Everybody already kind of knew that. This is not a surprise. People may also know that a significant priority for the folks in this survey was efficiency and accuracy. So just like I mentioned before, you can't just fool around and mess up tax returns. A significant majority prioritized error-free tax returns and efficient processes. So 73% of businesses in the survey cited error-free returns as paramount, of the utmost importance, while 68% emphasized the importance of high-touch service with ample communication. And so that goes back to that same personalization and connection that we've been talking about already, the know, like, and trust. But the only way that you can build that trust is by preparing a proper tax return. And again, like, I think a lot of these same things will apply to just broad advisory service. Like, you give good advice. Right. You need to give appropriate advice. And when you do, that is the expectation, is good advice. And that allows you this ability to be able to push forward and really provide the value that you want to for your clients. A third finding from this survey was that there is, and Jay, I think we talk about this a lot, but there is a preference for streamlined digital solutions. People out there are on the go all the time, and so they want to be able to do things as easily and frictionless. And so we talk about frictionless a lot on the e-commerce hour when we talk on Friday. Yeah. And that's actually true to people's preferences, not only when you're buying digital commerce, but also when you're interacting with professionals. Is you want those solutions to be as streamlined and and efficient for you as possible. So higher income individuals, in this case, those particularly earning over $250,000, and now we're starting to get into some more higher income there. But they show a strong preference. 38% of them want a tax filing experience that's streamlined into a single digital platform, reflecting the complexity of their financial situation. And so, Jay, I know we've been working on that a lot. We've run into that problem
Yeah.
because we've been changing those solutions. And instead of having a single digital platform for the past 3 years, we've had a couple different options there. And we've gotten that feedback. And so
Yeah.
this is very, very relevant and very, very obviously true that people want to be able to have one spot that they can go. They want to be able to do everything that they need to be able to do in that exact same spot, and not have to worry about this connection or that connection or picking up the phone or emailing you a copy of something. They want to be able to give it all to you just as easy and quickly as possible.
Oh yeah, for
Jay,
sure. And looking at some of the data there, so
mm,
most like is 50% into streamlined into one platform.
mm,
And you add into that more like with most like it's 85%. So
yeah, that's a huge amount.
it's just a huge amount that want a single platform for it. And it makes sense. I completely get that. You know, you want one place to go to get your data. And, you know, I think, you know, we, well, our tax firm uses SafeSend, and
Oh,
it has like 4 or 5 different parts to it. So it seems like it's distributed,
yeah.
but basically you get a message and you click into it and it takes you to your portal. So
Oh,
all they
yeah.
really have to do is go to their email and they get their private link to go into
Yeah.
whatever, whether it's their organizer, it's a document exchange, or it's
Right.
to sign off on their tax returns and download their
Yeah.
returns. So
All through.
it's 3 different. It's like it was all purchased and put together, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is what they actually did. But it's all under one umbrella and one ultimate URL that you can go in through and click in and get it. So it
Yeah.
does that. Now there is a file portal that is not part of this that we use, but we
Right.
almost never invite the clients to it now. There's
Right.
no reason for it. This is just our storage where we're storing our documents. And I'm saying this as ours as part of our tax program, not our
Yeah. Right.
advisory
Sure.
program here. So, and
Sure.
the other thing I thought that was interesting here, 40% most like digital first, as opposed
Yeah.
to 8% which like paper first. So I'm glad to see that paper number dropping.
Yeah.
So, you know,
And,
that's real good. But the other side
right.
of that I think skews it the other way, only 9% is mobile first.
Mm.
And 27% is computer first, which tells me it's a higher aged audience. It's not the creator crowd.
Yeah, maybe. And that is a really interesting thing because, again, this is another thing that we've talked about on the e-commerce hour. Digital technology is moving toward your phone. Like that's how you're going to communicate with people. That's how you're going to do stuff. That's when Zero debuted Jax back at ZeroCon. The first thing that I remember them talking about was, "Hey, you're out on the field. You got your phone with you. You're going to be able to do X, Y, and Z right from your phone." Um, and so I do think that there is a lot of appeal there. And Jay, you saying that makes me feel really old because I'm definitely not the mobile first guy. I much prefer the bigger screen of my second monitor, right? The desktop setup to be able to do anything that's related to most anything truly. So it is it is interesting how that will evolve, because because the truth is that if you truly want to capture all of the market, right, you need to be able to be flexible in all of those
For
different
sure.
solutions.
For
And
sure.
and maybe not paper because I think that we agree, in the remote world that we're in today. Like, I mean, paper is kind of a thing of the past for the most part, but there are still companies and still
Yeah.
people, 8%, that prefer it. That's just a dwindling number, is all. And
So,
so,
there's another section here where they're talking about mobile app, and basically this part is about the filers and paper records, but 15% prefer mobile app, whereas 37% say it's not available and wouldn't use it. So
mm,
yeah, so it kind of goes along with what you're saying, but
yeah,
and what you said from a practitioner standpoint, I get that.
yeah,
I mean, I want to have my desktop and my big screens, but
sure,
if I am filling out a document and uploading, a W-2, which is probably in a portal anyway, give me my mobile phone
yeah,
all day long. I mean, but I do have an iPhone Max, and I
mhm,
mean, I would sit and do Zero on my phone and not use the mobile app on Zero at some points
yeah,
too, because based due to the different functions. But if it did it
yeah,
all, no, definitely. Now, switching to desktop, 42% said, "Oh hell yeah, I'm taking the desktop," and 18% said, "No, I wouldn't use it." So,
yeah,
they're in your camp, but yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah, and so again, I think there are a few different things that go along with that, right? But the biggest takeaway is that you as the practitioner, as the advisor, like you need to have the flexibility to be able to use or talk through your clients on both of those different options, right?
yeah,
You need to be able to give them the ability to do it that way if that's what they want, because they're going to see that as that streamlining of those digital solutions is going to be something that's appealing.
yep,
Um, I personally like those things because a lot of the mobile performance I found, and especially if it's filling out information, can be like maybe not the best experience, right? And so,
yeah,
so from my perspective, it's maybe that the tools aren't as effective as you'd like for them to be, um, and that I think is a thing that we'll see getting better, right? And so I imagine that people that are like me that are a little bit hesitant to use the mobile device because the form is like does something tricky and like you want to be able to see like that you filled in all the boxes in the
right,
right spots and that kind of thing all in one window. Like as the mobile experience improves, I think you'll see adoption improve as well.
right. Oh, I
Um,
completely
and so
agree.
be, and so because of that, again, I think it's important as a practitioner, either as an advisory practitioner or a tax practitioner, like you need to be comfortable in both, and eventually, like you need to understand why your clients would prefer one or the other, um, and be able to be responsive to them on either direction.
No, 100%.
Yeah. And so obviously, so clients want these personalized experts. They want efficiency and accuracy. They want streamlined digital solutions, but they also want a balance, and this is what you alluded to before, Jay, a balance of automation with human touch. And so while clients appreciate the convenience of digital solutions, they also still expect those personalized interactions. You can't just do it like Jay's talked about on this show. You can't just turn yourself into AIJ and
Why not?
answer all the calls with an auto response email, right? Like at some point that needs to be personalized, and maybe
Yeah,
that does become a personalized AI response that looks and sounds like Jay, and that allows that personal interaction. But especially when dealing with things that are really complicated, uh, people just have a lot more assurance when you're talking in person, right? Or when you're having that personal conversation. And so, Jay, I'm actually really interested in some of the metrics that went along with this one. I don't know if you've got the balancing automation with human touch metrics there in front of you, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that a little bit more.
so this is something that I find pretty amazing today still. So
Yep.
62% prefer stopping into the office and dropping off their package
Yeah, there's a whole
or
group.
papers.
Yeah.
Only 6% would not do that.
Wow.
And here's the best one. So 62% are going to drop off the documents. 61% are just going to email them.
Hmm. Do a
So
little bit of
yeah,
both.
yeah. Well, it's okay. Gonna drop it off. Yeah, 62%. Okay, forget about that. Okay, you're gonna
Yeah.
email it. 61%. So, but
Oh, okay.
that's the one thing we tell our clients never do. Do not email your tax documents. Why? Because your social security number is bare on there and you don't want to give that up. It's bad
Right.
enough with all the security leaks that are out there from all these banks and all these other security things going on that
Right.
you don't want to stick it in the mail just in case, because you never know what's going to happen there. But that is the big number there. And, you know, we are 100% remote, so there is no stopping
Yep.
in to give us the documents. So there is
Right.
no secure way of doing that other than using the portals or the organizer, because they're built to be safe and secure. And
Right.
as long as you don't put your password on the monitor and share it with the world, you know, everything's going to be great. And set up the two-factor authentication, you know, your documents, your tax returns, everything's going to be safe. So that is
Right.
the best advice I can give.
Yeah, is make sure to use tools that are responsive to those kinds of risks, right?
Exactly.
That's absolutely true. When you think about the personalized interactions, especially with complex financial things, Jay,
Mm-hmm.
do you have some experiences of talking people through those complex things and how that would be way more challenging without the personalization?
Um,
When I
you're
think
saying
about so I know that that's like a complicated thing, right? Because obviously complex financial matters, right? That's business structuring. That's
yeah,
we're thinking about doing X, Y, and Z type of transaction. Like those types of things are often things that you need to have. You need to ask questions about, right? They're
right,
not so simple that you're just going to be like, "Here's the answer." You need to understand all of the facts because Jay, if there's nothing that I've learned from following along with tax Twitter about taxes if there's nothing that I've learned, it's that tax law is gray,
oh for sure,
and the real answer is it depends every single time. And so when it depends so frequently, that means that you need more detail and you need to understand all of the related facts because there may be situations that on the outside look very similar, but when you understand the actual details, the result, the right solution may be different. And that inherently requires personalization. Otherwise, you're going to get
right.
it wrong.
The
And
same the
and so
same deal on paper could be
yeah,
treated 5 different ways to 5 different people
right,
in 5 different situations. So
right,
you have to know the entire tax history, the tax strategy, the income situation, the family structure, business structure. All those different factors got to play into that. You can't just we're going to do this, and this, and go with it. You know,
right.
you can, but you're not going to get the optimal output in each of these situations.
Right. Absolutely. And so it becomes so imperative. And so it's not surprising to me that this is important to the people that were surveyed here. It becomes so important for those to be personalized conversations so that you do make the right choices
For sure.
for the relevant parties. And so, Jay, I think those were the highlights of the key findings from this summary. As you looked through it, was there anything else that you wanted to highlight before we get to the things we should do to take advantage?
Now, I think we should jump on in there because I have a couple other items here that probably should wait till we get to that. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Well,
yeah.
let's get into it then. So there are, we talked about four different findings, and we've got for you today 6 different steps that you can take 6 actionable tasks for accounting firms. And so that starts with no shock here, Jay, implementing an integrated digital platform. So that's adopt a solution that can consolidate various aspects of tax preparation into a single user-friendly platform to enhance that client experience, but also your operational efficiency. And if you don't understand why that's important, then go back and listen to the last like 30 minutes because we were just talking about all the things that were really valuable for that, right?
For sure.
Obviously, people want that. People want that single place that they can come where they can say, "All right, I know when I'm dealing with my tax stuff, I go to this place." And they want that experience. And then for you as the practitioner yourself, right, as the professional, there there's so much value for you in having it all in one place as well because you don't have to go take it from here, put it over there, put it over there, put it over there. You can have it all in one place where you can also see it all at once, which is really, really powerful. Um, Jay, that seems like a fairly straightforward,
Yeah.
actionable task. Any extra thoughts there?
So I mean, there are a couple of really good solutions there. We
Yeah.
talked about one already, SafeSend. You know,
Yep.
front end organizers, back end tax return delivery.
Yep.
In the past, we've used Taxstone, so same
Yep.
thing. So be looking at those solutions to help power your tax back office to make sure that you have an easy to use solution for your clients, and that way you have that integrated digital platform to make everybody's life easier.
Yeah. Um, the next thing that you should do, and this won't come as a surprise, but it is a little bit more challenging, I think, and that's to maintain personalized client interactions. So all of that personalization that we talked about, it's important to ensure that automation doesn't replace the human element all the way. You want to regularly engage with your clients to provide that tailored advice, that personalized expertise that we talked about before. You want to like actually spend the time to tell them about it, right? You want to get on the phone, have that conversation, and maintain that strong relationship so that your clients will know, like, and trust you. Jay, again, that one also seems pretty straightforward. Anything to add there?
Well, when it comes to building those personalized interactions,
Yeah.
April is a busy month. You might not be able to schedule meetings. So if you can't, how many of you have a system where you can cut a video right on your desktop? Go ahead and recap the tax situation, how much tax is owed, what the refunds are, what your main findings are. Put it in a video and then send it to the client and give them the opportunity to review that information. It makes it easier for them to digest the tax return, sign off on it, and then make sure you still offer them a time to come in after the deadline and have that discussion. So there's still many ways of developing that relationship.
Yeah, and I think that that's a really interesting way to think about it too, because what you just described is still providing tailored advice. It's still very, very unique to their individualized experience. It also gives them a record that they can go back and revisit if they need to, right? If you've got a video that's out there, they can go back and say, "What did Jay say about that?" Whenever
Yeah.
they want to, and so it does help you to build that relationship without doing what I described of just like getting on the phone, right? It's just getting on the phone when it works for your schedule,
Yep,
um,
for sure.
which again is a important point in helping to develop and maintain those relationships. I think that's a really, really, really good perspective, Jay. Um, the third piece of advice today, the third actionable task, is to focus on accuracy and transparency. So again, obviously, we talked about how people it's important to people to receive an error-free return. So you need to prioritize delivering error-free returns, and then also maintain open communication channels to keep clients informed throughout the process of how it's going and where they are. And now some of that may be through some of that digital platform that you've put together, and some of that may be through other different means that you can build out. This particular thing, Jay, I think is ripe for automation, because there are lots of ways that you can do this type of stuff and make sure that you're maintaining that transparency without having to make a personalized video every time.
Well, very, very true. And
Yeah.
there are tools that help us prepare returns to make sure that they're most accurate. There are
Right.
trial balance tools that we can connect up to Zero to pull out the data. It gets mapped to the tax return. We import it, and people say that this is a very easy return. I hear it all the time. It's really simple. It's not going to take a lot of time. Well, the thing about it is, the actual preparation is not what takes the time. It's
No.
the reviewing and making sure it's correct. And
Yeah.
like I said, we use tools to import a lot of that information to a business return. There are some tools that do the individual returns. I have not found one that was accurate enough to actually use, but
Yeah.
you put the time into the return, or this year I found a new tool that you do the return, you upload it, it reads the return, you also upload all of the documents, and it basically compares it for you and basically tells you if you're right or wrong. And
Nice.
it was really cool. It's called Tax
Yeah.
Exact, and it was one of the review tools that we're using. So,
Yeah.
and at that point, you have an experienced return preparer reviewing. You can pretty
Yeah.
much guarantee the accuracy and transparency of the returns to maintain that relationship. So,
Yeah.
but regardless, it's your ultimate goal to get it accurate. So,
Right.
it's twofold. You're doing it for the client. You're doing it for yourself.
That's right, absolutely, for lots of different reasons. The next actionable task, and again, this this particular one's maybe biased to this poll, but at the same time, I do think it's an important thing that we talk about on this show regularly. Is you should cater to high-income clients with complex needs. And the reasons for that are like pretty obvious, right? If you develop specialized services, so if you have a niche that you focus on, are that you are an expert in, and you streamline the processes to address the concerns that people in that same niche are going to have, you can gain a lot of efficiencies, and that allows you to be able to provide value, both from efficiency but also from expert guidance. And so it allows you this opportunity to be able to serve the people that you care about and the people that matter the most to you, because you find their businesses or their personal situations the most interesting, um, in the easiest way. And so maybe catering to high income clients by its own nature is maybe not the right thing here, but uh, identify the niche that you care about. That is definitely an actionable step. It's one that we have an episode on. If you want to go back and listen to Jay and I talk about why it is so important to identify that niche.
For
and
sure.
and Jay, when you think about this too, are there other takeaways from the idea of catering to a specific group of people where you can highlight your specialized skills?
Well, of course. I mean, first I want to break up, high income clients. First of all, there
Yeah,
are clients that have active income where they are earning operating income, and then you have
yeah,
passive income where it's all from investments. So a lot of
right,
times, those investments, there's not a lot of planning you could do with that.
yeah,
It's there. It's in investments. They're gonna sell it as they need it. It could be in retirement accounts or whatever, but it's those higher income people that are running companies with active operational income that you
yeah.
want to attract, because
Well,
they are the clients that need this strategic advice that you can
that's
work
right.
with and you can make the largest impact with, and that's
That's
ultimately why
exactly
you
what
want it. So
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's those situations that are the ones with the complex needs.
right,
They're the ones who truly need that specialized advice. That
right.
person who's making boatloads of money with a 1099 INT or whatever, like that's like you said, Jay. There's not a whole lot of planning you can do around that.
Yeah.
Um, or at least from a tax planning perspective, and maybe more of like a wealth planner who can help that person.
Well,
Um,
I mean, let's say there's stock sales. I mean, there are, because
yeah,
certain losses can't be used, and so you want to make sure you're taking
right.
advantage of them. But ultimately, it's that you know ordinary income that gives you the greatest way to help them save on taxes and
Right.
build
Sure.
strategies to mitigate. So
Yeah, and so and again, there are complex transactions in tax like all over the place. I
yeah,
recognize that as well. But like you said, there's more. You have a lot more strategy opportunity. Let's say that in a complex operating entity than in uh, a big bond fund or something.
right,
um,
exactly.
so again, I think that what that highlights again is the importance of understanding your own expertise and what it is that you're good at, and being able to identify the clients that need that expertise, and targeting and tailoring your services to them. The fifth actionable item for today is to educate your clients on the digital tools that you offer. And so this one can be one where you can do some automation that is a little bit personal, and that's a video that walks through exactly how those resources work, or the support that you're to help your clients navigate those new platforms. You can show them how to use it through a video recording that you share with everyone, where it's personalized. It's still you, and you're still having that conversation, but you're walking them through that process. It allows them to be able to fully leverage the benefits of that process, so that they can get all the benefits of using that digital tool. And so being able to make sure that people are educated on those tools is a critical step in the success of those tools and the adoption of them, right, Jay?
Oh, most definitely. And yeah, some of that personalization comes into the fact of knowing how technologically advanced your client base is. So
Absolutely.
I'm aware of a firm that went on one of these platforms, and they had about 650 clients. And part of, I don't exactly understand how they sent it out, but they told the clients when they were done uploading to click a button. Well, first thing all of them did was click the button. So before they even completed their organizer, they were done. So
Yeah.
that created some havoc for this firm. They had to go back,
Sure.
reset everything, start all over, and then recommunicate with the clients the proper way of doing it. So, it's really important to train your clients. Not only your clients, train your teams how to do it. So
Right.
that should a client have an issue, they could get on the phone, via email, cut a video, and be able to walk them through anything you need to do. So, you as, maybe you're, the sole preparer, practitioner, and you have other admins around you. So you're not sitting there doing that all day long. You want others to help you with that. So make sure everybody's trained in that so that you can
Yeah.
share that wealth.
Yeah, share that burden too.
Well, yeah.
Absolutely. 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 So again, it's important to educate clients on those digital tools. The final actionable step for today, Jay, is one that maybe like will slip through the cracks a little bit, but can be a key differentiator as you think about the future of your practice. And so it's one that I think is maybe one of the most important to be thinking about of the ones that we've talked about today. And that's to regularly update or evaluate your service offerings. And so stay informed about emerging technologies or client preferences to continuously refine both your service offerings, the things that you are an expert in, as well as balancing that automation with the personalized service that we've talked about before. Because the best and most effective ways that you're going to be able to provide that personalized expertise is by understanding exactly all the different things that you have exposure to, which
Yeah.
means that you need to be able to evaluate how can I help my client with this problem. Um, and so that means making sure, like we talked about before, making sure that you're well informed on what's going on, making sure that you fully understand the emerging technology that's out there, as well as when it happens, the tax law, and how those things relate together. Um, I think, Jay, when I think about digital assets, like that's the first thing that comes to my mind, right? Like if
Yeah.
you, whatever it was, maybe 6 years ago, if you were holding some cryptocurrency, like there's maybe like even a couple people who even knew what you were talking about.
Right.
Um, and today, if you don't know like what it means to hold a digital asset, or what the tax implications of selling one or transferring one are, like you're behind the eight ball here. This is a thing you need to be aware of and you need to understand. And it's not going to be the last thing that changes, right?
No,
There's going to
most
be
definitely.
something new that comes up soon, where you're going to need to have a similar layer of expertise, and it will be important to both you, and more importantly, especially as a service provider, to your clients. And so that can be a thing that I think is often overlooked, but a thing that's super critical is making sure you understand what types of things your clients are doing, and in what kind of trouble they can get themselves in with those things.
No, most
um,
definitely.
Jay, when you think about updating your service offerings, or really, being aware of those different services you can offer, um, are there other tips or tricks that you'd throw out there, Jay?
Well, I think you got the majority of it there.
Yeah.
I think as far as service offerings, you know, tax prep is tax prep. You know, there's not many changes there, but there
Yeah.
is audit defense. There is estimate calculations. There is uh, estimate, yeah, extension payment calculations,
Yeah.
and then there's
Yeah.
tax
Right.
planning. And so all of those are different types of engagements that you can have that help deliver from your bottom line. But the key to that is having the automations in place so that you are not spinning your wheels to deliver items like that. Having
Right.
a end-to-end solution to collect the documents and to do some of the import of that. There are tools that will read or import directly your W-2s and your 1099-Bs and your K-1s. A lot of the tax softwares do that K-1 import for us. But by
Yeah.
not having to do that import, you're saving yourself time that you can then deliver the returns, have those discussions with the clients, to be able to talk about tax planning with them, or to talk about these estimates that they need to be coming up with in order to meet their basic compliance requirements. So,
Right.
utilize the technology to free up the time to build the relationships. That is the best thing I can offer as we come to a close here.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing too, Jay. You've circled a whole bunch of the actionable steps that we talked about here today, all into one thing, which is a great thing to do. So, as a reminder, the 6 actionable steps that we talked about today: implement an integrated digital platform so that your clients have one place they can go as easily as possible. Maintain those personalized client interactions. You don't always have to do that right in the moment, and you can do that through a lot of different ways, even using technology. Focus on accuracy and transparency. Make sure to understand your niche and the complex needs that may go along with it, or where you want to be. Educate your clients on the digital tools that you're offering. And then finally, make sure that you're regularly updating your service offerings. And doing those 6 things will help you to meet the dual demands of efficiency and personalized service, positioning yourself to be for sustained success in the rapidly changing industry landscape. So that's what you came to this show for, or those 6 things. And so I hope that you'll take them back to your firm and the people that you work with, to consider making some edits and updates, or making sure that the processes you already have in place are capturing these things properly. Jay, any other final thoughts today?
I guess it's just a tax on our mind, because just unless something major happens next week, we're talking tax and AI. So
Let's go.
we're charged up here. We're ready to go. So next week we're gonna come at you and talk a little bit of AI and tax. So bring those
Wonderful.
questions.
Yep. Drop them in the comments. Tell us about things you've done in your practice that maybe we didn't talk about, or maybe some success stories around some of these things that you've already done. We'd love to see those things. And like Jay mentioned, we'll be back here right again, right same time. That's 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Eastern on Tuesday on the Practice Playbook. We'll be talking about tax and AI. Let's go! Super exciting conversation points there. So join us next week when we bring it to you here on the Practice Playbook. I'm Chris. He's Jay. We'll see you next week. Any final parting thoughts? Or are we just out of here, Jay?
We out of here.
See you later, everybody. Bye.
See you, everybody.
Have a good one.